What would your life look like if you never had to work for money again? I really want you to think about that. In this video, I'm going to break down how you never have to work for money again. So stay tuned, watch the full video, and let's get it. All right, so how do I never work for money again? First off, it's extremely important to understand what's really going on here. You got to understand that money truly is not real. It's an exchange of energy, and that's it. It's just energy. Money is just energy, right? And so what happens is society, the powers that be, have put us all in this little bubble and made us slave for the money. And that's why people are working for the money. All the while they are taking the profits and, investing the money and not working for the money, right? So the wealthy families, they understand it, but they're benefiting off the game that has been created. So it's up to you to break out of the mental shackles of this game so that you can be free physically, mentally, and all of that. But you need to be free here before you're free here, right? So before we start talking about how to never work for money again, you gotta level up your thinking, and you gotta break the mental shackles. You gotta stop being imprisoned. You gotta get away from the mental poverty, and you gotta think different. Okay? So how do we never work for money again? So first things first, you gotta work for money, right? If you don't come from money, if you don't come from a family that has money, if you don't come from an advantaged background, you have to work for money. I know this literally sounds counterintuitive, and we're gonna get to the other things, but I want you to understand you gotta work for the money. You literally have to, because how are you gonna get money so that you can leverage? You're not. So number one, first things first, get away from thinking that like, I'm gonna wake up one day and I'm gonna have X amount of passive income. Like, the shit's not real. You have to grow your skill set so that you can figure out how to make a good amount of money first, right? So let's focus on that first. You have to work for the money until you don't have to work for the money. It's a mind fuck, I know, but follow me what I'm saying. Work for the money, right? And the second part of that is work for a result and stop working for an hourly amount or a dollar amount, okay? So you have to work for money, but you also have to work for a result, right? And that result is going to be tied to a dollar amount. So figure out a way to create a certain amount of money on a monthly basis. So for you need to be saying, okay, my monthly expenses are $3,000. The result that I'm looking for is $8,000, so I can have an extra $5,000 a month to be able to invest. So when you start thinking about it like that, you start saying, hey, okay, how can I get an extra $5,000 a month? What if that is you doing something and you have two clients at $2,500 each? You got $5,000, right? But if you're like, I need to work more hours, that's not the way, right? In the beginning, that may be the way when you don't have anything built up. But when you start having some money in the bank, don't work for hours. Unless that's the only thing that you can do because you don't have the skill sets yet, or you're working on your system your cash flow system, right? So put in the work, right? Work for a result. Is it sales, right? Do you need to get in sales? Go make $90,000, $100,000 a year. Keep your expenses under $40,000 and invest the extra $30,000. Maybe that's what you need to do. But you need to understand that you have to work for the money so you can build up your money, and then you can start putting that money into places, right? So that's that first step. You got to work for the money, and then you got to work for a result, and not an hourly amount or a dollar amount. Because if you are so focused on a dollar amount, you're going to be a slave to the dollar amount, right? You got to focus on the result. Focus on the result. So what is the result you're going for? I can't stress it enough. Focus on the result. The next thing, you got to increase your cash flow. Increase your cash flow. How do we increase the cash flow? If you have a job and you have extra time and your job is paying you well, you need to be taking your free time and figuring out, how can I make that extra amount of money, that supplemental amount of money that's going to allow me to leverage and put this money, to play, so I can invest the money, right? So how do I increase my cash flow? It's not working another job. It should be a side hustle, or it should be something that does not involve you working 20, 30, 40 hours a week to get, bare minimum. Jim Rohn said, profits are better than wages. A lot of people are looking to get wages, but they need to be focused on profits, right? Because you got to understand that the owners of the companies that you're working for, they're benefiting off the profits that you're creating for the company and paying you the wages, right? And here's the cold part about it. When you're getting paid in wages, the taxes is already getting taken out. But when you're getting paid in profits, you get to write things off. You get to tell the government how much you're going to pay in taxes. Legally, obviously. So you got to understand that profits are better than wages, right? So if you're working a job and you have the extra time, should be your main focus. Stop getting comfortable because your bills are paid. Stop getting comfortable because you're making $90,000 a year. Unless that's the life you want and you're fully fulfilled with that, that's perfectly fine, right? But in the economy that we're living in, prices continuously going up. The price of homes continuously going up. It's not looking good. So if you're not growing, you're dying. So at some point, you have to continue to push the envelope and push the envelope and push the envelope on yourself. You got to push yourself, because a lot of times people will say it ain't about money, but the second that they get more money than they ever made, they be like, damn, I realized that this shit is about money. And I'm not saying be a slave to money, but what I'm saying is you have to understand the game that we are playing, right? We have all been conditioned to work for money forever. That's why people are so focused on retirement. People are tired of working. But we have a whole generation of younger people that have learned that, working is a scam. And it started with the millennials, and then it kind of went down. But that's why it's hard to find good people to work nowadays, because nobody young wants to work, because they see what I'm gonna do. Stay in a company for 20, 30 years and not get a pension. Pensions don't even exist anymore, right? A lot of people are being told to jump from one company to another company because these companies aren't loyal, so why should we be loyal, right? So when you understand the macro perspective of it, you have to understand that you got to take your life by the horns. You need to figure out a way to grow your personal wealth so that you never need anybody else. It's that simple. If you give a company the power to feed you, you're going to give them the power to starve you. And so at some point in time, you have to look at it in the mirror and be like, okay, or look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, this is where I'm at and this is where I need to go. Now, I said if you have a job and you have extra time, you should be doing X. If you have a job and you don't have extra time, you need to find extra time, because this is not a game. I don't care how much you like your job. You will not like your job if one day you wake up, or one week they start feeling different about you, or the economy changes Now they are looking at their P&Ls and they're saying, okay, where can we cut costs at? And then they start cutting costs. And now your job is a part of the cost that they have to cut. But you like your job, right? So it's about being self-sufficient and knowing that nobody is here to save you, and a job only exists, and these jobs only care about you to the extent of what you're doing for the company. Period. It's just that simple. So you have to increase your cash flow, right? You have to increase your cash flow. It does not matter what your month. Don't live life like, oh, this is what my bills are. My job pays this. I'm good. No, you're not good. I promise you, you're not good. Because if you are able to pay your bills and have an extra $300 a month, how are you getting ahead? How are you getting ahead? You're always going to be running on the hamster wheel. Always. So you got to look at it for what it is and be like, okay, if I don't have time, I need to make time. It's probably going to be some late nights. It is what it is. I would rather be tired than being broke. I promise I would. You have to get your sleep, yes. But sometimes you got to burn that midnight oil because you got to set the system up. Okay? So work for the money until you don't have to anymore. Increase your cash flow. Work for a result. Work for a result and not a dollar amount. Can't stress that enough. Okay? The next thing that I want you to do is, well, two things. You got to build up your reserves, and you also have to get out of bondage. Okay? All these, being a consumer. When I say get out of bondage, being a consumer, you need to produce more than you consume. Period. You need to be in a constant state of producing. Producing what? I don't know. That's up for you to find out. If you have a business, you need to be producing content for the business so that it could generate leads in the digital economy, right? If you have a product, you need to be producing that product and also producing content so the content can get people to buy the product, right? And you need to be producing consistently, right? Get out of bondage of the American way of living, being gluttonous, right? Eating more food than your body can handle, being financial gluttony, right? Just spending money because you just want to. You want to feel good and you don't even have it like that. It's one thing to have an abundance and an excess and just spend money because you want to. That's different. But spending money because you want to, but you don't really have it, you're just putting yourself in a further hole, right? So you got to break this. There's shackles and locks on your mind. You got to break it. You got to break away. There's a barrier that's above you that's invisible. You can see the other side, but you're like, man, how do I get there? It's you. It's your beliefs. It's your habits, right? Go on a 30-day, whatever. A 30-day, I'm not spending on this. I'm not spending on this. I'm not eating this. Do something. But you have to get out of that bondage. When I say bondage, what I mean is you have to get away from having things control you. Oh, this new pair of shoes came out. I got to go buy them. This dropped. I got to go get it. Like, you have to get away from that. You have to. You have to be in control of yourself if you never want to work for money again, because everything in this world is tied to money. So if you like certain things so much, then what's going to happen is you're going to like that thing so much, but there's a dollar attached to it. You have to buy X. You have to buy this, right? We all have our vices, but you got to get in control of yourself. You have to get in control of yourself. There's no way around it, right? So get out of bondage, debt, frivolous debt, afterpay, Klarna, all those things. Get it gone. Get it gone. At least get your cash flow up so you can pay for the debts comfortably until you can pay it down. right? If you don't do nothing else, get your cash flow up so you're not a slave to the debt. And then what happens is when you start really making money, you be like, I don't really want to spend a lot of money on bullshit because I just want to be able to invest, right? So now, get out of bondage. You have to get out of bondage and you got to build up your reserves. Allocate your money, right? You have to do it. There's no way around it. If you do what's easy in life, your life is going to be hard. If you do what's hard, your life is going to be easy, okay? And then the last step into how to never work for money again is you need to learn, it's non-negotiable what I'm about to say. You need to learn how to leverage your money in the stock market. It just is what it is. Invest/trade, okay? Trading options, investing into the stock market. There's something called compound interest. It's the eighth wonder of the world. However many wonders of the world there are, this is the eighth wonder of the world or the ninth wonder of the world, whatever it is. If you can understand that a penny doubled will make you richer than ever, you will never, ever, ever not want to invest. Get a brokerage account. Learn what an index fund is. Well, I'm talking about very simple, right? Depending on what your age is. If you're in your 50s, you're gonna have to have a different strategy. But if you have time on your side, you need to be investing into index funds at the bare minimum, right? If you got 10,000 into, a S&P 500 index fund, right? I like Vanguard, so VOO or VTI. If you have $10,000 in there, you could probably make about $1,800 depending on the year off of just compound interest. But if you have that same $10,000 in the bank, what is the bank going to pay you to have your money there? Nothing, right? So you have to understand how this stuff works. On average, stock market is bringing about an 8 to 10% return on average. Some years is 20%, right? Some years is 25%. Some years is 15%. Sometimes you're going to have a down year. But if you could put money into something right now, if you have $150,000 in a brokerage account and it's just in one index fund, and that index fund grew by 20%, that would mean that you made 20% of $150,000 that you did not have to work for at all, right? So if we break it down, 50% of 150,000 is 75K. If we break that down in half, that's a little bit over 35,000. So like 38,000. So 20% of that, it's about 1/5, right? So it's about a little over like 25K that you made that you did not have to work for, right? And then if it's a dividend stock, the company is going to pay you to just hold that stock. And over time, that makes you money. And you can live off of compound interest or interest alone if you have enough money invested into the actual stock. And this is just investing. This ain't even trading. So I can't harp on it enough. You need to learn how to leverage your money, right? Some people will say real estate. Yeah, real estate is cool, but I can guarantee you that nothing beats the stock market. Nothing beats the stock market. People put money into real estate so that they can protect their tax liability. Real estate is a tax play, right? Yes, the most millionaires made their money in real estate. I get it. But you can't take $200, put it into a house, and in 2 days have $1,000 in your account. You can't do that. But in the stock market, you definitely can. So you need to understand, if you never want to work for money again, you got to take the steps. You got to get out of bondage, build up your reserves so that you can be comfortable and you're not stressing about things, right? And then you have to build up your cash flow on a consistent monthly basis. because a drop in cash flow kills people personally or in businesses, right? So your cash flow got to be A1. And then also you have to work for the money so that you don't have to work for money again. And you got to work for the result and not the dollar amount, so that you're not a slave to the actual dollar amount, right? And then you invest that money. Whether you're a silent investor, angel investor, there's things where there's a real estate website platform, investing platform. You can invest into real estate projects, and then the turnaround time is like 90 days. So if you put $5,000 in, you'll get a return of like 10 to 12%, and then you could keep washing that. But at the end of the day, you need to get back to the goal should always be to be an investor. That's it. The goal should always be to be an investor. And the only way you can be an investor is if you got bread. Because investing is literally investing money into things, getting a return later, right? Yeah, you can invest your time. Yeah, you can invest your resources. If it's not money, it could be resources, right? Your tutelage and stuff. But I'm talking about from a financial perspective. You got to have money to invest money. And you got to have money set to the side that you don't need for your bills. So if your bills are too high, what's going to happen? You're going to be afraid to be able to invest because you're going to think about using that for your bills. But if you can drop your bills on a monthly basis and have more money coming in, and you can invest freely and your home life is still taken care of, you're going to be able to escape that rat race so fast. I did it, right? So be sure to focus on that. Wherever you're falling short at, go fix it. It's perfectly fine. Nobody is perfect. But in order to escape the rat race for real and get out of the matrix, you got to face it head on. You have to face it head on. So do what you got to do to get where you want to go, and you will look up, and the time is going to go by anyway. But if you do what you need to do, you're going to look up, and in the future, you're going to be so happy that you did what you were supposed to do. All right. So I hope this made sense. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments. And always remember, get out of your head and get into life. I'm going to see you on the next video. Peace.